Hello, I'm Smita Purohit. I'm a product manager in PayPal's blockchain, crypto, and digital currencies business unit. I'm honored and thrilled to be speaking at the Women in Product Conference. Steve Jobs once famously said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards." And so you just have to trust that the dots will connect in your future somehow. And at the beginning of my career, I did not understand that. But now, 18 years in, this totally makes sense. To give you a sense of my background, I started off my career as a developer. I used to code, and that instant gratification of having your code work and do what it's supposed to do brought me immense joy. But over the years, and I did that for 5 years, and over the years, I began to realize that I was enjoying working with people, enjoying understanding their motivations, their intentions behind things, and I wanted to see what would a career path in understanding people be like. And so I did an MBA, and I looked at organization behavior, and how to bring in effectively the people side of change when you do large scale changes within an organization. A good example would be is if you change the way 20,000 people do their work on a day to day, how do you effectively bring that change so people aren't surprised and are prepared for it? And I did that for about 7 years. Did that in Southeast Asia, India, and all around the world. And then I came here to the US, and when I was trying to figure out what my next move would be, I became a program manager because it helped me bring in the technical side of my interests and the people side of my interest effectively together. But as I did program management, I started seeing what product managers do. And that really spoke to me. And I feel like after a long time, I found my calling. And the reason I talk about this journey is because my journey has not been typical. I have done many distinct things in my career. And connecting that to what Steve Jobs said, I didn't understand at the time when I was doing each of those roles that how that could help me be a better product manager. But it has. Like, being a developer has helped me now effectively speak with our engineering teams on how to build products. Being a people change, organization change manager has helped me think through the various perspectives, and help me think through products end to end. And being a program manager has just helped me have that execution mindset. In today's talk, I wanted to talk about the key skills or the key sets of skills that would make a successful product manager. I think when you look at skills, there are a couple of complementary skills that, as you bring them together, make them more powerful. And so, my three complementary skills are as follows, right? The first one is the ability to have empathy and perspective. Like, perspective is a very cognitive exercise. You think of perspective is when you know what somebody is thinking about, but empathy is a very emotional exercise where you think about the other person's feelings. And when you put those two together, it makes you effective in the way that you know how a person's worldview is, you know how they feel. And having empathy and perspective is not only important from a consumer or a product user lens, but it's also important for us from a lens of the stakeholders that we work with, right? Because we work with multiple stakeholders in our organization to be able to launch something. So that set of empathy and perspective is an important skill to have. The second set of skills that I think is important is growth mindset and collaboration. Product managers have to deal with ambiguity all the time. We have to make decisions with incomplete information. And the ability to look at any adversity or a blocker as a way to learn is what defines a growth mindset. But the also humility that you as a person don't know it all, and you need to be collaborating with other people within your organization to bring about anything that helps solve a user problem, is an important skill to have. Having good communication skills is just a way to help build that collaborative mindset in your organization. So the second set of skills that I think are very important are growth mindset and collaboration. The third set of skills that I think are very important is a sense of end-to-end ownership with an execution mindset and the ability to multitask. So this set of skills basically helps you just take accountability and ownership for anything to launch. So the ability to have a view of what you need to do, just take ownership, do what it takes, and get it done. With the ability to multitask within a day and speak about different topics in that go to make a product launch, is going to help you be a better product manager. Lastly, with these three sets of product management skills, that'll totally help you make a great product manager. I have, if I want to give like two pieces of advice to any aspiring product managers, the first thing would be that, like, if you don't have experience being a product manager, do not be afraid of thinking that you can't be one. Everything that you've done in your journey and in your career, it gives you perspective and helps you be that better end-to-end product manager. So don't be afraid just because you don't have the experience. The second piece of advice I have for you is take chances. You have to deal with ambiguity. You will never know all the answers, but the ability to ask the right questions, the ability to identify who to ask those right questions to, and the ability to tie it all together and have the right data points to make the right decision at that time is what will help you grow in your career. So you don't have to know it all to be a good product manager. So I hope this the sets of skills and this advice will help somebody as they think through being a product manager, even if you've not had the experience to do so. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gloria Abiodun. I am a lead product manager at PayPal. I work in a merchant platform team where I work on building merchant experiences that helps our merchant manage and grow their businesses. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey, my journey of how I became a PM, some of my highs and lows, and I hope that inspires someone today. Straight out of grad school, I was so excited to land my very first tech role, where I worked very closely with product owners. A role in my mind that was far beyond rich. Each time I saw a product owner, I looked to them as this god. They knew all. I was inspired by how brilliant their minds worked, but also I was very intimidated by their years of experience and how effectively they made decisions and executed on them. In my mind, I could only aspire to be like them. Most of them started their careers as software engineers, and they had it all figured out, or so I thought. Fast forward a few years, my family and I had the opportunity to relocate from the United Kingdom to Silicon Valley. I remember very vividly my reaction when my husband told me we're moving to Silicon Valley. I responded and I said, Silicon Valley? You mean we're moving from the United States, sorry, from the United Kingdom to Silicon Valley, to a place where the best minds reside, to the place where the best innovative companies were headquartered in, to a place where, in my mind, only the people that went to the top schools landed the best jobs. There was no way I was going to succeed there. I was a new mom with a 1 year old. I was very well settled in my position in the United Kingdom. There was no way I was going to come into this new location and be a good PM. In my mind, I had this big resistance. Nothing I heard or nothing that was said to me could, change my mind or how I felt. I struggled so much. Can I do this? Am I really equipped to do this? Am I qualified enough to do this? A few months after we arrived in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley, it was now time for me to look for a role. I remember going online and researching on what I should do. My passion has always been to build great products, but I looked for everything else but the role that I really desired to work in. I remember each time I spoke to other product managers, I was just so intimidated and how great in my mind I thought they were. Until one day I stumbled on a product podcast. As I listened intently, I realized that the biggest challenge or the biggest problem was actually my mindset. So I had to take some time to work on my mindset, which meant that I had to get rid of all of my past experiences and how it affected how I looked at my future. I realized that what was stopping me from getting to my dream was really me. So I took time to start to study great product leaders. I listened to more and more product podcasts. I networked with loads of product leaders. Along the way, I found some great mentors. I quickly came to a realization that the difference between them and me was because they did. They had the same challenges as I did. They came across the same obstacles as I normally do on my day to day, but they dared to be different. And so I did. Ever since, I walk in shoulders high every day, regardless of the issue ahead of me, regardless of the task ahead of me. I tell myself that I can, because that product leader that I admire from afar can. Because they can, I also can. In my day to day, I come across young, aspiring product managers, and I tell them the same. Don't let anyone intimidate you. Don't let anything intimidate you. Don't let any problem intimidate you. Just know that you have the power. Since I found that power, I am always so amazed by my innate abilities. And when doubt creeps in, I remind myself that I am my biggest competition, no one else. I aspire to be great, and every day I walk in that confidence that I can do whatever I set my mind to do. And I hope that this inspires someone today that regardless of what you see around you, just know that the only thing that stops you from getting to where you need to be is you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Liz Flynn, and I'm a product manager in PayPal's Risk as a Service organization. I'm so excited to be joining the Women in Product conference again in 2022. This community has been such a source of inspiration and good advice to me over the years, and I'm really delighted to have this opportunity to share my experience with you today. As I reflect on this year's focus on restoration and rediscovery, it's impossible not to think of our journey over the past couple of years as a kind of crucible in which we've had to look deep inside ourselves to sort of boil off the mindsets and habits that no longer served us and nurture the inner strengths that are now helping us to emerge from the past 2 years as brighter and stronger versions of ourselves. Like every one of you, I'm more than just a woman in product. I'm a daughter in product, a sister in product, partner, friend, a volunteer in product. But more than any of those things, for me personally, I'm a mother in product. And that role and its presence in every single aspect of my life has come into sharp relief in the past 2 years. Our pandemic story is not especially unique. We had some bad days, but mostly good days. We added to our living space, and we did some unscheduled repairs. And we mostly went about the business of adapting to our new reality. Like most mothers, I felt stretched pretty thin across my personal and professional priorities. I agonized over how to support teenagers who were suddenly cut off from their friends, tweens who are not sure if it was even safe to go outside, and the steady demands of a global economy that just couldn't afford to stand still. So I struggled to rebalance my world as my home life and my work life sort of merged into one. And over the course of those first couple of weeks and months, I realized that I had one superpower that could really immediately improve the tenor of my household in any given moment. And I think that superpower, or that practice, was empathy. As mothers, we're really attuned to having empathy for the people who are around us. But I think that being mindful about practicing empathy in every aspect of my life has helped me to emerge not just personally from the experience of the last 2 years, but professionally, to emerge as a stronger product leader than I was before. As we get back out into the world, we're seeing the consequences of more than 2 years of stress and isolation. But what every mother knows is that behavior is communication. And I think that's what we're seeing here at home, at work, and out in the world. It's a population who are tired and stressed out and just really need to be heard. They need empathy, just like we all do. As product managers, we talk about empathy a lot. We've always known that empathy for our users is critical to our success as product managers. And we're living in a moment right now that gives us the chance to practice the kind of radical empathy that can make us better leaders, better product designers, and better people. Leading with empathy helps us build better teams. Panelists conducted a survey last year about empathy in the workplace, and they found that employees who felt their leaders were empathetic to their situation were not only happier, but they were less likely to think about leaving their current job. They felt more innovative, and they enjoyed better work-life balance. Empathetic leaders had more inclusive teams, and their teammates were more than twice as likely to report feeling engaged than those of less empathetic leaders. Designing with empathy helps us build better products. I've spent my career working in the B2B space, and one of the hazards of selling to businesses is it's kind of easy to slip into the trap of thinking of your customer as just a corporation. And it feels good to build products that can make a material impact at a giant corporation. But what feels really good is knowing that you've made someone's life just a little bit better or easier. A lot of my front-end users don't choose to use my products. They're assigned to them. And we all know what it feels like to be assigned to a clunky tool that makes our jobs more tedious or more stressful. So bringing that mindset to product design helps me to focus on building products that make my users feel empowered and productive. While a less elegant experience may still help business customers achieve their financial goals, it feels good to know that we're helping our users achieve intangible benefits in the form of employee satisfaction, more productivity, in addition to helping our business customers achieve their goals. And finally, living with empathy helps us build a better life. Learning to be understanding with others helps us to be more understanding with ourselves. And we all deserve to have that inner voice that builds us up instead of tearing us down. And the good news is empathy isn't just about understanding people when they're down. If we live our lives with empathy, it means that people come to us with their successes because they know that we will celebrate with them. And it just brings joy and connection into our lives. So, as I said, as pandemic journeys go, ours was a pretty easy one. We didn't suffer any illness. There were no major tragedies. We were warm, safe, and well fed. But like everyone, we had to rethink the way we interacted with the people closest to us. And if one good thing has come out of this really, really tough time, I think having the opportunity to lead with empathy can make us better people, both at home and at work.
Hi, my name is Prashanti Ravanavarapu, and I'm here to talk about my approach to work and life, which I think is a purposeful approach for myself. Um, a lot of times we all think, especially when we look at other people's lives, we think their lives or our lives are straight line like this, always going up to the right. But in a lot of situations, it is not. It's actually a very squiggly line of lots and ups and downs, lots of twists and turns, back and forth, before we end up in a place where we feel like we wanted to go all the way. That's exactly how my life has been. In a glimpse, my life kind of looks like that. Starting all the way back in India, born and raised in India, came to the US in '98, studied here till 2000. I've been working in the Bay Area ever since. And you have a bunch of, highlights in terms of work and life, changes in my jobs, changes in the role, changes in my personal life of marriage, kids, loss, health issues, and all of that. And all of that touches upon highs and lows, learnings, joys, and sorrow, and all of that. But you also see these big circles in blue, which are all kind of like the pivots I feel like we've done. And I've had quite a few. And these are like 10 pivots I could count, and I'm sure there are quite a lot more pivots in my life. And just to name a few, I grew up in India most of my life thinking I wanted to become a police officer in the Indian police services. But here I am coming to the US to study. I thought I'll rule the world of data by going to rise to be a chief data officer of a company. But here I am doing product leadership. I always imagined myself, serving and providing service and in service and volunteering and giving back everything I've earned after retirement. But here I am weaving in service into every aspect of my life and work. Uh, Here I was thinking I will always be in working in financial wellness, but pivoted in the last few months to focus on all aspects of customer wellness. I was growing up and working, thinking I'll always be a working mom, but a couple of years I had to figure out how to be a work schooling mom. And of course, today after the pandemic, most of us are work schooling moms because we got to work and school kids. But I actually homeschooled my kids even before the pandemic. Here I am, like always been an introvert, but now I show up as a radical change maker. And these were all pivots that were caused by several scenarios in life. Be it unhappy situations, be it forceful, or be it my own thoughtful approaches to where I wanted to be. But I use a little, framework on how to move forward in my life, how to reflect, restore, and get to a place where I want to. My framework is really three aspects. First, it's all about knowing, your mind, soul, and self in a way of reflecting, rediscovering yourself and your goals, and then restoring. And to talk about the framework a little bit more, the way I think is the most important thing is to always find time to reflect on what is important for you, what you need. And to do so, you have to know uh, what is it that your soul is going to be fulfilled by. For me, it's about what are my values, what's my mission, what do I need to do for people around me. And we have to think about what is important for our minds. Is it a particular kind of learning? Is it intellectual growth? What is important there? And let's not forget our own self, right? So think about yourself. What is important for you? Do you need an increase in your paycheck, a growth in your title or role, or do you just need to be where you are for various reasons like a visa situation or whatever that might be? It is okay. It's important to acknowledge where we are in all three of these aspects and acknowledge where we want to be in all of these three aspects. And that becomes the foundation of what is important for us at this time in our life. And that's what I continuously do. The second aspect I always do is always continue to discover or rediscover what my inner strengths are, what my inspirations are, and what my dreams are. I follow this, concept called Ikigai. It's a Japanese concept. You can read about it online as well. But thinking about what I love, what I'm good at, what is a problem that I love to work on, but also is good in the industry or important for the company or the industry. And finding all of that and the intersection of that helps me figure out a role that I could even be paid for. Because if I'm not finding that intersection of all four, I'm only either being passionate but not impactful. I'm being missionary but not having a sustainable life. Having a lot of fun but not having a career. But finding an intersection of all four really helped me find and rediscover where I want to go next. But after that, what I also have to do is always make sure I understand how do I restore myself and balance in my life. And I do that by looking at how I spend my time today and how I want to spend my time. And how I want to spend my time is really grounded on the first two steps I did, which is what is important for me, where do I want to go, how do I want to live my life, what are my values, what is my eulogy going to be, like what is my family and friends going to think about when, or my coworkers going to think about when I pass on. All of those have to be reflected in how I want to spend my time. And once I balance all of that, if I feel like there's a big difference in how I spend my time to how I want to spend my time, then there's a need to reset. For example, maybe I'm spending 10 hours a day at work, but I need one of my values to make sure I'm not a mom who can delegate work related to my children. If that is the values I need to implement, then I need to make sure I'm a little bit more balanced and work maybe only 8 hours a day and make up some other way. So that assessment has always been important for me. And that's how I constantly find time to reflect, rediscover, and restore myself ongoing. But while I do this once in a while in big chunks over the holiday every year or every quarter, it is also important for me to continuously do it on a continuous basis. Because all of this thinking and being purposeful is not for someday, it is for today. And I'm just showing you a sneak peek of how my calendar looks. If you see, yes, I have a ton of work meetings, I have work focus time. I'm finding time because I'm in product. It's very important for me to find focus time and deep work time to actually do meaningful work. But I also have to weave in what else is important: my family time, my exercise time, to support my health goals, to read and write so that I'm replenishing my intellectual need, so that I'm always identifying where I want to go next, and so on. But also weaving in whatever is important, finding time to reflect, reset, and plan for the next week, next month, next quarter, next year is also important to make sure that we're continuously staying energetic and finding time and energy for the things that really matter to us. So that's how I reflect, restore, and rediscover myself. I hope you all also take the time to continuously be proactive and purposeful in how you shape your life to be. Because if you don't shape your life, who will? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jillian, and I've been a product manager at PayPal for about 2.5 years. I have been driven my entire life. I was the kid that instead of going to the pool with my friends, I went to business camp. I did that pretty much every summer until I graduated college. And then when I got into the real world, I realized that I had found my dream job. Every summer, I was going to camp learning how to be better at sales, how to start a business, how to see my creations come to life. And I loved every single minute of it. And so when I found product management, it had really been my dream job growing up that I had never known about. And so when I graduated, I wanted to make the most out of it. And so I threw myself into work. I was the type that would go to work, I would come home, I'd do more emails. I would create a presentation because I thought I needed one for the next day. I would work hours and hours and hours and then wake up the next day and do it all over again. But I did it because I loved what I did. And at the time, everyone was telling me, you need to find a better work life balance. You need to have work life balance. It's really important. And I just was like, this is what I love. Why do I need a balance if I'm doing what I love? Um, and then about a year in, I got sick and ended up having to take some time off of work. And I was out for a couple of weeks, but when I got back, I realized that work had kept going and everything was okay and my team was still on track. And when I came back, my boss actually had me take 2 extra days after being sick to make sure I was fully recovered so I could really hit the ground running. And in those 2 days, I realized that when I did go back, I went back so much stronger than I was before. I realized that I had a ton of energy and I had kind of disconnected. So when I came back, I had a really fresh perspective into what I was doing on the day to day. So after being sick, I sat down and really reevaluated. I realized that working all the time probably led to some of my health issues. And I realized that I had done a lot and I had accomplished a lot, but I realized that there was potentially more that I could be doing with my life. So a mentor of mine at about the same time gave me some really amazing advice, and she said, "How do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered as a workaholic, or do you want to be remembered as something else? What does that look like to you?" So I sat down and I realized, I want to be remembered by someone who is really loved, someone who was really great to my family and my friends, someone who did more for the community than just work. And so I took a step back and looked at what does that mean for me. I also did a pulse check of where was I at. So I asked some friends and family, and all of them gave me pretty much the same answer. They said I'm really hardworking, I'm powerful, I'm a boss, I all words you'd associate with work. But they didn't tell me that I was loving and I was happy and I was a family person, which is what I wanted to hear from my friends and my family, not my coworkers. So I realized that I needed to be doing more. I needed to have a much better balance in my life. And at the time, I didn't know what that looked like. So I sat down and I'm like, I'm going to give myself monthly goals. So the first one was find a hobby. And so my hobby was cooking. I did ice skating lessons. I did ballroom dancing. I realized that most people have, when you say find a hobby, most people have a single thing that they love to do. And for me, like product, I like doing a lot of different things on a daily basis. So I realized it was okay to have 10 different hobbies, but I needed to do something different on a weekly basis that wasn't work. Last week, it was going shopping with my friends and rebuilding a planter, which was fun. Different weeks, it's creating a new recipe, it's going ballroom dancing, it's just finding a way that I can be creative. Ultimately, for me, a hobby gives me that sense of purpose outside of work to try to do something different and try something new, which really increases my creativity. And I bring that back into my job every day. So when I'm cooking, I'm thinking of new recipes, I'm thinking of new ways to put things together. And so when I go back to work, it really puts me in that mindset to figure out how else can I do what I'm doing? How can we do what we're doing better? So step one was find a hobby and do something on a weekly basis that is hobby related. Step two was take vacation. So when I got sick, I was forced to take time off, and I was basically forced to have a vacation. When I first started, I was really scared to take vacation because while my coworkers were really good about taking vacation, I was really worried I was going to miss something, and it never seemed like a good time because it always seemed busy. But what I realized is work is never going to slow down, and you just have to plan your work around your vacations. And so I really admire one of my coworkers who takes a vacation every 3 months, and she's very religious about vacation. I really admire her because she comes back with such amazing perspective after traveling and seeing different customer use cases and seeing different parts of the world. She always brings this awesome perspective after vacation. And so I challenged myself to actually take my vacation and fully enjoy my vacation, fully disconnect on my vacation instead of always trying to be catching up on emails and doing that late at night in the hotel room. So I started taking vacation and I realized that I too brought a much better perspective to my day to day. And I realized that I was so much more energized by what I was doing because when I was on vacation, I was actually seeing people using my product, right? I would go to a different country and they'd say, hey, pay me with PayPal. And I'd be like, okay, great. And I'd actually have a conversation with them about what they liked and what they didn't like. And it gave me a better perspective of where my customers are coming from and what they're doing on a daily basis. So that was step two for me. And then the final thing I realized was I had always been measuring myself by work. I'd always been trying to accomplish my goals of, being a CEO one day, and getting into management. And so I had really dialed in, and I had a very clear idea of where I wanted to go career-wise. But I hadn't done the same thing with my personal life. And I realized that was a really big miss, because there were a lot of areas that I was actually failing. Like, my friends would ask if I wanted to hang out. And to be honest, I would typically tell them no, because I was too busy or tired after work. I realized that I'd missed out on a lot of really amazing opportunities in my personal life, because I just wasn't prioritizing it, and I wasn't looking at the bigger picture. I was looking at career-wise where I wanted to go, but I needed to look at personally also. I wanted to build a family. I wanted to have a really strong community of friends. And so I took time to figure out, where am I at today with that? And then how do I want to get better? So it meant, I would take steps to plan a dinner party to get all my friends together, or I would, just invite a friend to a movie. And so I realized that I needed to take time on almost a daily basis to take a step back and put work into perspective, because when I was going out and hanging out with my friends and had that perspective on life in general, it made work not seem so stressful. And it made the decisions at work seem really manageable, and seem like, if a metric goes up and down, it's not the end of the world, right? It's going to go back up. We're going to figure out a solution, and it's going to be great. But it gave me a lot more empathy when I was in those discussions, that we don't need to have the perfect answer. We need to have a good answer that we can build upon, because at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. And I really, by throwing myself in work and always being a workaholic, I really lost that perspective. So ultimately, I continue to have 3 goals for myself. One is do something on a weekly basis. That's a hobby that can revitalize me, give me a purpose outside of work, challenge other skill sets outside of stuff you do in a corporate world. 2 is take my vacation to experience the world and spend more time with my friends and family. And step 3 was take time to look at the bigger picture, not just with work, but even outside of work, of where am I at, who do I want to be, and how do I want to get there. And ultimately, these 3 things have really made me a lot healthier and a lot happier. I've been able to manage my health so much better since then. I have been a better friend, a better family member, a better coworker. I now have fun stories to share on Monday after, the weekend, when everyone else is sharing that they went hiking. I now have something to contribute, which is great. But ultimately, finding happiness outside of work and finding different purposes in my life made me much better at my job. It made me so much more empathetic. It made me a better coworker. And I am so much happier with who I am now that I have, a better perspective on life than when I was a workaholic. And ultimately, I think long term, I will be able to do what I want to do, and I'll be able to be remembered how I want to be remembered, because I can keep life in a much better perspective now. Thank you so much.